How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China. And finally today I'm going to get back to the January 28th incident in Shanghai 1932. And today I'm going to be looking at the drive south by the 24th Independent Mixed Brigade. And we're going to look at the fighting around the town of Miaohang. Now, what I'm showing you is Japanese forces, just the stuff I've got on the table, some 75mm Jap guns. Over here, the town of Miaohang, and inside I've got a battalion of Japanese infantry, the 24th Mixed Brigade. Now these are again called Rapid Fire, and a battalion of these, this is a shout out to my mate Joe. A battalion of these Japanese is a triangular battalion, is 12 figures per company. No name order 1932, but for 1937 definitely a name order, and one LMG per company, and 4 companies to a battalion. 9 figures in the HQ of the battalion, plus 2 machine guns with 6 figures for the support company, and if you wanted to, and you're playing later than I do, a 70mm infantry gun. Okay guys, if you don't know who Joe is, you should check out his channel. If you like your toy soldiers, you'll love that. I don't think anybody's got more than Joe. Well, maybe I have, but other than me. And I'll leave a link to his channel under this description below. So these are the old Airfix figures. Some of them are actually the old Hong Kong knockoffs of the larger scale Airfix figures. So I've got a 75mm mountain gun down there. I think they're Austins, posing as Karaganes. The Japanese HQ in there, and over there where we began with, I've got some naval forces. Now I'm going to get back to the battle and put the camera on its stand. Now, the last time I did a video of this, I was discussing the advance north of the Japanese forces towards Qianwan. Now today we're going to be looking at the drive south of the 24th Independent Mixed Brigade towards Qianwan. Now on the morning of the 22nd of February, the Japanese bombarded the town of Miaohang with 100 guns for 100 minutes. This left the defenders totally stunned, dazed and confused. It was also very misty that morning, so those that could put up a defense, that still had their wits about them, couldn't see the whole entirety of the Japanese force attacking them. You know, missed as a good cover in battle. So they took the town of Miaohang. Fortunately for the Chinese, the 24th Independent Mixed Brigade, as I said before, was cautiously commanded. So having took the town and the nearby town of Miaohang, they didn't press forward their advantage, because by taking those 2 positions, they had torn a huge gap in the Chinese lines, and they could have driven forward to the Wusong Creek and cut off at least 1 or 2 battalions of Chinese troops. But they consolidated their position and they established their brigade HQ in Miaohang. Now, the troops defending Miaohang, I apologize to my Chinese people watching this. My pronunciation of your names and your beautiful language is atrocious. I'm sorry. So at Miaohang, it should also be defended by elements of the 24th Infantry Brigade, but I put some sailors in there because they're representational of the Chinese counteroffensive that is about to begin. Now, General Zhang did not, the overall commander of the Chinese forces, did not panic. He had good troops in reserve, and at this point of the battle, the only Japanese forces that had made an amphibious assault was the 24th Infantry Brigade. And although General Zhang's Chinese, the front had been torn apart, there was a huge hole now there that the Japanese held these positions. He ordered the 259th Infantry Brigade, I think it's the 259th, could be the 269th, of the 87th Infantry Division to cross the Wusong Creek and counter-attack. Now, their counter-attack probably began about midday. By the time they got ready to assault these positions, it would have been midday. Now, the Chinese forces were very fortunate. They had good intelligence sources of what the Japanese positions were on the ground. In fact, in this war entirely, there's an espionage going on. The espionage and the front line fighting goes hand in hand in this war, in ways that it doesn't seem to happen so much in the European way of espionage. So when the 259th crosses the Wusong Creek to assault and retake Miaohang, the 19th Route Army will also counterattack, and it will counterattack all along the line. And in and around Xiaobei, where some of the heaviest fighting has been, the Chinese counterattack will drive the troops of the RJNLF back to North Sichuan Road, which was a spectacular achievement for the 19th Army. It really was. However, the 5th Army, the men of the 5th Army, and in the guise of the 259th Infantry Brigade, will attack this town and this line in brigade strength. Now, these are a brigade of the 5th Army for 1932 that I'm sure you're familiar with. I've explained them in another video, and the only support weapon I've got here is an infantry gun. 20mm is an infantry gun in Chinese service, and at the back I've got a Dare to Die company, and I'll explain their mission. And their mission goes hand in hand with what I was talking about, is the espionage that follows this battle. If you remember, General Kang betraying the positions to the Japanese. Well, the Chinese know that the Japanese Brigade HQ is in Miaohang, and they decide that a Dare-to-Die unit will be dispatched along with the main Chinese forces to annihilate that regimental HQ. So the Chinese objective of the day was achieved. At the end of the day, the 22nd of February 1932, the men of the 259th had retaken these positions. these positions, you know, the two towns. However, it will cost them over 2,000 casualties, including nearly 200 officers. So extremely heavy fighting. Now, the casualties would have been a lot worse for the 87th Division, for the men of the 87th Division, had it been for one fact. These men were very, very familiar with this terrain. It was their training ground. And this terrain, although it is not, the ground is not as soft here as it is closer to the railway track or on the ocean, the water side of the railway track. The ground here is firm. That's why when the Japanese dropped 100 had 100 pieces of artillery firing at this town for 100 minutes, the town was shattered. Now, a lot of these small Chinese towns and villages have a wall around them. However, I couldn't find a reference to a wall around Miaohang, so I didn't put one in. But I feel that a destroyed wall all the way around the town would be correct. Now, the Chinese, as the Chinese forces, as I said, would retake these positions. But come the morning of the 23rd, the Japanese will counterattack. And these positions will fall. And the Japanese will be forced, and the Chinese will be forced back again. So, on the table, I'm representing the advance of the 19th Army. We have a battalion and one 20mm infantry gun in support. And here I have a IJNLF battalion with one Vickers Crosley in support. Japanese artillery on a little bit of high ground. No high ground on this battle it's not really high ground. They're just undulating terrain. So, how did things go for the Chinese dare to die element of the attack? Well, they indeed reached the dare to die forces on the day, did indeed reach the Japanese HQ. And they killed a lot of men and broke the commander's leg, but he survived. The dare to die, none of them survived this contact. So that is the Chinese counterattack of the 22nd of February 1932. So this war would go on for a long more years until 1945. And by the end of 1945, of course, it will have been known as, well, by December 7th, 1941, it will become known as World War II, or part of World War II. But by 1945, the Chinese soldier had fought the Japanese with the least for the longest. Thanks for that. Now, if you enjoyed that, please press subscribe. And hey, those 74 subscribers I've got now, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Take care. See ya.